A night in Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is a Rolls-Royce. When everybody hurrying, he can afford itself a luxury. Going not too fast. When the road busy, no one will be surprised if Rolls goes out of line. Not paying attention to oncoming traffic, he will get around everything. He can do anything, everything can be forgiven to him. Along the well-worn motorway, crossing the county of Hampshire, which is on the coast of southern England, rode a sleek Rolls-Royce, confident in its splendor. The driver was not a young but well-groomed man. Next to him was a middle-aged woman, who was not particularly remarkable. From time to time she threw strange glances at her companion. They contained both expectation and anxiety. The one to whom they were addressed did not notice anything. He selflessly turned the steering wheel, and a happy smile wandered across his face. It was clear that this man was happy with his life, his Rolls-Royce, and himself. "They will hear about me again." Not paying attention to his companion, he muttered. She obediently agreed. "Of course, darling, they will still hear about you." For several minutes only the slight rustling of tires was heard. And then the man exploded. "No, they wrote me off early. I'll show them. They regret it." "You're right, dear," the maiden assented. On their part, it was terrible, disgusting. Rolls-Royce stopped. On both sides of the road there were fields behind the hedge. A herd was streaming out of the grove. The cows were sleek and well fed. The man got out of the car and, as if spellbound, he began to look around. "My cows, my land, my grove," he repeated touchingly. And when a car pulled down into a side road and after a few hundred yards stopped in front of an amazing mansion, the Rolls-Royce driver was completely unstruck. He wandered through the suite of rooms and sobbed, "My silver, my porcelain, my favorite paintings." "Oh, come down, Oliver, you have to take care of yourself," the woman persuaded him. But Oliver had already calmed down. He moodily felt the furniture, looked for traces of dust on the paintings, caressed the silver with his gaze. 2 years he didn't see his wealth. 2 years his mansions, estates and Rolls-Royce he dreamed at night. And when he woke up with a blessed feeling of peace, power, strength, saw in front of his face prison bars, he wanted to destroy this damned ungrateful world. And now he is at home, reveling in luxury. He diligently avoids thinking about Monday, when he will have to cross the threshold of prison again. Everything I say is not a fiction, and sensitive owner of Rolls-Royce and estates, not a literary character. He is a very real person. The described episode happened on Friday, 20 February 1970. To Camp Hill Prison, which is on Isle of Wight, clinging to the south coast of England, that day after lunch, taxi arrived. The lady we already know hurriedly entered the prison office building. She was noticeably nervous. A few moments later, her husband appeared. He was elegant, as always, and the guards treated him with utmost respect. The formalities were over in the blink of an eye. "In 72 hours you should be here again. It would be good if you weren't late." Softly, as if embraced by the inappropriate importunity, reminded the prison official. Old man Katz had never let anyone down, so don't worry, laughed elegant man. He was in a great mood. When out of 3 years there are only 9 months left to sit in prison, and to encourage you they let you go home for the weekend. Life doesn't seem so bad. 9 months will pass quickly, and we'll show you more. Won't we, Susie?
Yes, Oliver, of course,
his wife agrees in fear. She's just recently his wife, but she learned that it's better not to contradict him. A taxi takes them to the ferry. They cross the street, and here he is in his Rolls-Royce. Again at the helm, master of life, the winner. It's okay that it's only for 72 hours. They will still see what he is capable of. He will still show them.
Yes, Oliver, you're absolutely right.
His name is Oliver Katz. He is 50 years old. He don't smoke, don't drink. He lifts weights and swims and takes care of himself. His health is excellent. Dropout, acquaintance with literature ended with accounting ledgers. But that didn't stop him from being considered a knowledgeable and damn smart guy. All his life he robbed people, but rumor claimed that few could compare with him in generosity. Even when Oliver Katz took, it seemed like he was giving, all because he is a millionaire. It's like an indulgence, a capacious English expression. A person who has made his own way in life, or self-made man, fits Oliver Katz perfectly. Born into a greengrocer's family, father had no money, but had a sufficient understanding of the foundations of the world around him. Therefore, having failed to educate his 3 sons, the greengrocer taught them boxing techniques in return. For Oliver, university ended at the age of 12, and at 14, having learned his parents' lessons, well, he got into a fight with him, after which he left home. The war made him the owner of an old truck transporting coal. Oliver Katz granted the privilege of fighting to others, having recognized only one thing in life, the power of the fist. He refused military service for moral and ethical reasons. By the end of the war, the miner owned a dozen trucks and a garage. By the time Oliver Katz had married and was still living in a modest rented apartment. But when he had his first few £1,000, he bought not a house, but a second-hand Rolls-Royce. This man knew the possibilities of owning such a car, having never betrayed his moral and ethical considerations. Katz wore an officer's overcoat and did not take off his paratrooper's cap. After the war, it made an impression. Many doors opened for the veteran. One of them opened unexpectedly. An assertive coal miner, accustomed to getting away with everything with impunity, was brought to trial for yet another fraud with a stolen anthracite. Then he got off with a fine. The money went to his hands. He made most of his money from land speculations. Having bought a garage space for 1,000 francs, he managed to sell it for 40,000. By the end of the 50s, Katz became a millionaire. He already owned several Rolls-Royces. When arranging for lunch or just a business meeting, he liked to say to his partner, "I'll send one of my Rolls-Royces for you." Money in England can do almost anything, but before the arrogance of the tribal aristocracy, they often give in. There's a clubs here that simply a millionaire will never get into. Katz even felt with his skin that He was considered an upstart, that in the eyes of the world he was still a coal miner. Envy of his money, many often did not shake hands with him. The millionaire bought an estate next to the estate of Lord Mountbatten, Admiral of the Fleet, former Viceroy of India, and a close relative of the Queen, Elizabeth. The neighborhood only emphasized the depth of the social gap. The lord bowed to Katz with the same amiable expression on his face as he gave a tip to the servant. The millionaire suffered. Neither Rolls-Royces, nor Chinese porcelain, nor paintings of the Flemings any longer consoled. Katz decided to act. He admitted to his friends that he was ready to die, but to achieve a knighthood from the Queen, that is, to become Sir. If Oliver Katz took on anything, he usually went for it. Here he decided to act gradually. Regular donations began to come to countless English charitable organizations. Not very large, but frequent. From Oliver Katz, the accompanying notes reminded. Owner of 30 different companies, he became an active member of a dozen more charities. At one of the social events, he was once introduced to Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister. After learning that she loved camellias, Katz began sending one of the Rolls-Royces every week to Kensington Palace, the Princess' residence in central London. Each time, the impressive driver left a luxurious bouquet from Oliver Katz for Queen's sister. A drop wears away a stone. At one of the receptions, Princess Margaret recognized him. "Oh, Katz, the gardener!" She caressed him with attention. Everyone saw. He was happy. His decisive chance came by chance. In 1961, Katz learned from newspapers that the leaders of the English team for Tokyo Olympics were looking for a quiet, convenient place to train athletes. Katz knew very well that Britain's path to high society was through sport, that a round of golf with the right person was often more important than a seat in Parliament. He immediately offered one of his estates to accommodate athletes. Of course, free of charge, the newspapers were quick to emphasize. It was a precisely calculated move. The name of generous tycoon, a friend of British sport, could not be avoided by the authorities. On January 1st, 1963, in the traditional New Year's list, Katz's name took a place in the list of other outstanding Englishmen, awarded the Order of the British Empire by the Queen. The millionaire was slightly disappointed. He expected more, but his friends consoled him. "You can be sure that next year you will become a knight." Deep down in his soul he was also convinced of this. Therefore he asked his friends to call him Sir Oliver from now on. Woman letting him down is not a new thing. The wife started divorce proceedings. Katz was furious. To avoid paying ex-wife a pension, he decided to accuse her of treason himself. The millionaire forced his gardener to give false testimony in court. It was revealed. To top it off, troubles happened with his mistress. She suddenly rejected him too. This was something Oliver Katz couldn't stand. The millionaire tore and threw. He incited a mercenary to start a fire in his mistress' house and at the same time to burn her car. The court in England has a soft spot for millionaires. The attack on private property, however, is not forgiven to anyone here. Katz was burned in a failed fire. All his life he ruined, oppressed, strangled people. In a society of private initiative as well as free enterprise, this is possible. This is the path to millions, to honor. Here you can't just neglect the rules of decency. Oliver Katz broken them. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Already during the process, he got married again. The weekend flew by in a flash, but Oliver Katz entered the prison building with his head held high. The prison authorities welcomed the millionaire. His eyes burned. His face radiated determination. It was not a coal miner. A knight marched past the prison guard. Well, well, I'll show them. They'll hear about me again, he growled. I'm ready to agree with him. Of course, you are absolutely right. Your millions, estates, Rolls-Royces are with you. Who can deal with them? Everything depends here on people like you. You are a knight of capitalism. Of course, you will show yourself again, Sir Oliver. The chapter from the book called Britain, Great and Little. Author Vitaly Kobysh.